What makes for a good James Bond theme song?
Bombast, horns.
I think it needs danger.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be sexy, and it needs to be a little exotic.
It needs to sound cinematic.
It needs to have all of the qualities that the James Bond theme song has.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which songs from the history of this film franchise do that? I think the Adele Skyfall theme is quite good.
Yeah.
Nancy Sinatra's You Only Live Twice is pretty much perfect.
I think that Duran Duran, they got into the music business so that they could make a James Bond theme song. They got their James Bond theme song, and then they just disappeared for a few years. They're like, we're done here.
There are some songs, particularly from the late 70s and the early 80s, that lean too much on the romance, and I think that those fail miserably. The Sheena Easton's For Your Eyes Only, I think this is a terrible James Bond song. And Carly Simon's Nobody Does It Better. It's a good song, but I don't think it's a good James Bond song.
No, it's a good hug dancing song if you're at a junior prom in 1979. Oh, and I guess Goldfinger's a good song.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode, I'm going to spring one on you. It might be good. It might be bad. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. On our last episode, I revealed that we would be watching an espionage movie tonight, and not just any, a James Bond film. You may not know this about me, but when I was in high school, I was a James Bond freak. I read all the novels. I saw every movie that I could get my hot little hands on from the Blockbuster video. But I didn't see all of them. I could have gone my whole life without seeing this movie. But luckily for me, You Only Live Twice.
Oh, excellent, okay.
Released in 1967, starring Sean Connery and Donald Pleasance, the screenplay for this was written by Roald Dahl, and very loosely based on Ian Fleming's novel of the same name.
The cats are at it tonight.
Can you take that away from him, please? Dahl, a close friend of Fleming, called it Ian Fleming's worst novel, with no plot in it which could even make a movie. So he took everything and threw it out, except for a few characters and locations, and came up with an entirely new story.
Well done. Hopefully there's a chocolate factory involved and some witches.
Tired of playing Bond and fearing being typecast, Sean Connery announced during the filming of this that he was retiring from the role, but he would return just 4 years later for the film Diamonds Are Forever, and 16 years later for the non-canon Bond film Never Say Never Again.
The only Sean Connery one I've ever seen.
Not even Goldfinger?
Not in full.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a very boring scene involving golf in it.
As far as I remember, I don't know. They're all one movie to me.
One of the funnest parts about James Bond movies are the gadgets. Those little things that do things that you don't expect them to do.
That's right.
Well, I've gotten you a device that is not what it seems.
You got me some sort of calculator.
Look again.
You press the button and it squirts water out at you.
A squirting calculator. Look at that child on there. Look how delighted and surprised he is.
He is. That's getting him square right above the forehead because it's...
I hope you will use this to play a trick on someone who is engaged in international intrigue.
Oh, I have lots of enemies. And if I see them, I'll be like, excuse me, could you tell me the square root of something? They'll be like, oh. Awesome.
I don't expect you to talk. I expect you to join us on the old leather couch as we get down and dirty with James Bond in You Only Live Twice.
Testing the espionage calculator. Have my protective goggles on. Wah. Oh, it's a man with a hat on. We're fine. Ah! That could have been me. Deep in the bounds of space, Jupiter 16 floats.
George Clooney and Sandra Bullock are about to get in a heap of trouble.
Yep.
TEDCOM, this is Chris.
Astronaut Chris. My fellow astronaut Stu has stayed inside the capsule. They are interrupted by an unidentified spacecraft, which opens up and swallows them whole, like a mighty whale.
Oh no, Major Tom!
Now he's sitting in 2 tin cans. Back down on Earth, the U.S. is convinced that it's the Russians, but the U.K. isn't convinced. In fact, they have a man in Hong Kong who's investigating the situation. That man is James Bond, and his investigating consists of
Canoodling with a young lady named Ling.
He says something pretty racist.
Why do Chinese girls taste different from all other girls?
Did he say what I thought he said?
Yes.
Like Peking duck is different from Russian caviar.
She tasted like Peking duck, and I tasted like white privilege.
He can trust her. Nope. Murphy bed. Guys come in, shoot up the Murphy bed's back end, and they leave him for dead. That's right.
Why do Chinese bullets feel different than other bullets? James Bond
James Bond
is dead.
is dead.
Or is he?
Or is he?
You only live twice.
It's a somber affair because they're burying a man at sea. But once that body goes into the water,
Some scuba divers come out. We're gonna grind this up and make it into an aphrodisiac. It isn't James Bond, you know.
they bring it aboard a submarine.
And they unwrap him, and he's fine.
They had to fake his death so he can go undercover in Japan to find out what the deal is with these spaceships that are stealing other spaceships. On the boat, Miss Moneypenny is there, as well as M, Bond's boss.
If our Singapore tracking station is correct about the rocket not landing in Russia.
Man, he is really Scottish. Like Scottish with 3 T's. Mr. Bond puts on his scuba gear. They're going to fire him out of the torpedo tube, and they launch him at Japan. At a sumo wrestling match,
Sadanoyama?
I hear you're greater than the sumo your parts.
he meets his secret contact, Aki.
ヘンダーソンさんいらっしゃいます？
どうぞこちらへ。
She said Gojira. I heard her say Gojira. And she's taking him to meet Mr. Henderson. He's a Brit who's been living there since he was shot down during the war.
Oh, you must excuse this rather odd mixture of styles, but I refuse to go entirely Japanese.
For a while there, I thought I was turning Japanese. I really thought so.
Your most vital contact will be Tanaka.
Tanaka?
He's head of the Japanese Secret Service.
He knows everything that there is to know that we know about this thing that there is to know.
Stirred, not shaken. That was right, wasn't it?
Perfect. Cheers.
Certainly, I'll drink a stirred martini.
By the way, he's stabbed through one of their conveniently paper walls.
Bond smash!
Bond chases the assassin, kills him, puts on the assassin's clothes, and crawls into the back seat of the getaway vehicle. The getaway driver takes him to Osata Corporation.
The thug discovers Bond's identity, and they have a huge fight.
They fight all over the room.
Bond wins.
He notices that there's a safe. Oh, there's probably something important in the safe that I need.
He snatches a document, and he runs from the building.
Looks like he's cornered, but then comes up a sporty little car, and it's Aki. He hops in, and she saves his life.
He says to her, "Hey, what's the deal? Tell me what's going on." She says, "No," and she runs off. He chases her through the subway. Suddenly, he falls through a trap door. It's okay, though.
My name is Tanaka. Please call me Tiger.
Okay.
I'd like you to examine these as soon as possible. They're from Osato's safe.
This photograph is a picture of an island. Something mysterious must be going on at this island.
Why don't we go hang out at my house? James, I think you'll like it. They hop into his own private subway car, and off they go.
Do you like Japanese sake, Mr. Bond?
I like sake, especially when it's served at the correct temperature. 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'm called the human thermometer. I came in first in my class at Cambridge, thermometering. They get to Tiger's house, and man, is he a tiger. He's got a few pussycats around.
Well, I like the plumbing.
You know, your breasts.
Your English girls would never perform this simple service.
I think I know one or two who might get round to it.
Miss Moneypenny, perhaps.
Never say her name. She's good and pure.
Which girl do you select?
I'll just settle for this little old lady here.
Good choice.
So, Tiger Tanaka has a stable of whores.
Yeah.
Okay. Bond thinks that all of the shenanigans could be the work of Spectre.
That evil worldwide corporation that gets into things like this.
Bond goes undercover as Mr. Fisher, and he goes to the office of Mr. Osato.
He meets Miss Grant, who's a sexy lady.
A Dom Perignon 59, Mr. Fisher. Are you really sure you won't change your mind?
I'm sure you will go on and on about the temperature of it. But Bond doesn't know that Osato has an X-ray machine in his desk, and he can see that Bond is packing heat.
I feel myself developing cancer.
Who would have such a weird desk? After Bond leaves, he tells his assistant,
Get him.
What would he do without Aki? Deus ex machina. Be dead more than twice.
Tiger, contact M. Tell him to send little Nellie.
Later on, Bond is investigating something, and he's chased by a bunch of these tough guys. They're running around roofs. He's surrounded, man.
He casually walks out, and then he's knocked out. He wakes up in the clutches of Miss Grant.
Who are you working for?
She's got all kinds of torture instruments. But first, I'm gonna kiss on you.
I have a whole bunch of money, like $300,000. Why don't we split it?
She cuts open his bonds. Bonds? Yeah. And they go off together.
I'm afraid I have another appointment tonight, Mr. Fisher. I'm awfully sorry to leave you.
Why didn't you just kill him when you had him tied up?
You're wasting a perfectly good airplane.
We know that James Bond is not that easy to kill. Soon, little Nellie and her father arrive.
Q.
Is my little girl hot and ready?
Look, 007, I've had a long and tiring journey.
Every encounter with Q begins with, "Look, 007." Little Nellie is a
little whirly bird that you can fly off real fast, and it's covered with weapons.
"Here I go in my goofy little plane, whee!" But suddenly all these choppers are chasing him.
Luckily, I have these 4 different ways of killing helicopters.
And little Nellie makes short work of them. The Russians launch a rocket into space. That other spacecraft comes by and eats it up, just like last time. My God, it's full of me.
Pentagon's like, if this happens to us again, we're going to take them down. Soviets are like, we'll take them down. The little evil eating capsule comes back down to Earth and it lands in the volcano.
It seems like they're kidnapping these astronauts. There's a mysterious man in a chair who has a little white cat, and he's talking to 2 Japanese men who reveal that they want to start a war between the US and Russia. Well, you want to start a war, do you? Well, that's very interesting. Well, okay. Someone doesn't want to play along.
Our clients are satisfied with the progress so far?
And Princess Nancy here is also satisfied, aren't you, Princess Nancy?
I want the sum of $100 million in gold bullion.
Extortion is my bag. Oh, and hey, check it out. I have piranhas over there. Look, I'm going to show you this trick with Ham. Oh, you read? Hey, why don't you cross that bridge over there by the piranhas I set up in the scene earlier? So she gets dropped in the piranha pit and she's dead.
Like so much ham. She dead.
Yeah. Maybe. Some people live twice.
Bond visits Tiger Tanaka's ninja school.
Bad news from outer space.
Yes, I heard it.
Now that's the title of a movie.
Ninja up! We got all these cool weapons we can use.
Tiger gives Bond a couple more gadgets. Cigarettes that shoot rockets. Tanaka decides that Bond needs to go deep undercover.
You must become Japanese.
Yeah, it's what you expect.
And here things get awkward.
Alright, they do this silly stuff to his face. Put a wig on his head. Suddenly he's Japanese. Why is it necessary that they're in their bras and panties while they do this Japaneseifying? He has to actually marry a Japanese girl and live as a poor Japanese fisherman. If you squint and you don't look at his face, he almost looks Japanese.
Really?
Almost.
From now on, you must do everything in Japanese style.
That's not how we do it. In Japan, we kiss with our butts.
Bond and Aki are sleeping, and there's an assassin in the ceiling, and he's got string with a juice going down it. It's poison juice. He did this in Grosse Point Blank! It's supposed to kill Bond, but instead Aki is killed.
She's dead.
Bond gets over it pretty quickly. There is a wedding ceremony with his new bride. James is looking forward to the wedding night, but she informs him, nuh-uh, this is all about business. You ain't getting none of this.
I was expecting to knock boots.
There was a cave where a local fisherman went into the cave and then came out dead.
So they go and check out the cave.
All right.
Here, let me help you out of the water. You seem to need help.
They go hiking around and investigating more, and they do a little kissing. I wish every time Sean Connery kissed someone, there were bagpipe noises.
What a beautiful moon, Trebek.
Is that deep?
Your mother's also deep, Trebek.
It's metal.
I tested your mother's metal last night.
You New girl, you go back and send the cavalry. I'm going to go in there on my own. He puts on his ninja outfit and his suction cups, and he climbs down into the crater.
And he sees those missing astronauts.
Good evening.
Who the hell are you?
I am Cornholio! There's a big jailbreak. Bond pretends to be one of those astronauts. He's going to go up in that mystery plane.
Because they're going to steal another space pod.
Who's a good kitty? Are you? Are you?
Stop that astronaut. Bring him to me.
Stop that astronaut!
And he is taken to meet the mystery man in the chair.
I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
Yeah, that Blofeld.
You may be noticing the scar on my face. It seems that Princess Nancy and I had a disagreement.
They launch the claw rocket, and the ninjas converge on the volcano. There's a huge battle.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
Bond has a fight with this big blonde goon. And that guy ends up going in the piranha tank.
Oh no, Augustus! Don't drink the chocolate river! Roald Dahl, he just can't help it.
But not before Bond gets the keys that are going to foil the rocket. He goes into the room with the rocket button, presses the big red button, and the eating rocket blows up.
This is where I keep my spare kitty.
Blofeld activates the self-destruct in the volcano. Maybe Godzilla will emerge? Just throwing that out there.
It would be a twist.
All the ninjas and Bond, they find an underwater exit, and they get out just in time, and everybody's saved. And Bond and his wife have a raft all to themselves.
Unfortunately, before we get to see sex happen in this movie, they're picked up by a big old British submarine.
You only live twice. You only live twice. What did you think, Mr. Johnson?
It was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good too, yeah.
I'm really not a fan of James Bond movies. I go and I see them sometimes, and they're just these things that happen to me.
This one was really action-packed. It had some really great fight scenes. It had some really great car chase scenes. And it's a very dense plot.
But they're all dense plots. They're all just made out of all of these MacGuffins and red herrings and stuff like that. So much Bond iconography springs out of this movie.
Sure.
This might be the central Bond movie because of that volcano lair. That's the thing that always comes back. You see basically this lair in The Incredibles. You see it in the Hank Scorpio episode of The Simpsons.
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers, definitely. And
that one SNL sketch with Christopher Walken where he's taking him on a tour of his secret lair.
I've
got a laser table. I'll cut your ass in half. So as far as Sean Connery goes,
yes,
he's a young, virile man in this, and he's obviously got a rugged handsomeness to him, and definitely an animal magnetism. But I found him completely lacking in charm. I don't think he's that great of an actor in this. Like, he's really good with looks and facial expressions and with commanding the presence of the camera, but as delivering lines, he's very wooden.
This is one of those things that's hard to judge for me how good of an actor he is, because I'm just like, he's James Bond.
Yeah.
He's Sean Connery doing the James Bond thing. But, you know, it's not as, like, forceful as he is in The Untouchables or Zardoz.
You've never seen Zardoz. You can't fool me.
And I probably never will. You know what is never said in this movie?
Yes, I do know. I do know.
What is it?
Please let me go, lady. Bond, James Bond.
Yeah, that's right. Which is weird. I didn't think that was legal to not have those words.
I think at this point it had not yet become a catchphrase.
So we had some iconography, but not all the iconography.
Yeah.
Yes. I love the word iconography, guys. A very pretty girl taught it to me in college. If you want to start a war, why don't you steal 2 United States pods or 2 Soviet pods? Not one of each.
Yeah, 2 is a conspiracy. If you steal one of each, it's a third party doing it. It's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, why would we steal our own pod?
It's like America just whipped up pod stealing technology in the last few weeks.
I have a couple of fun facts about this movie that you might be interested in.
Fun facts are my favorite facts.
The volcano lair set cost nearly as much as the entire budget of Dr. No.
It's a nice set.
And this is very interesting. The Chinese actress at the beginning of the movie, the actress's name is Tsai Chin, and she would return to the James Bond franchise nearly 40 years later by appearing in the film Casino Royale at the big card game. Would you like to hear about the plot of the original novel?
Yes, I would.
I'll tell you what I remember. Bond is made to undergo a Japaneseification of his face. He loses his memory. Typical, like, bonk on the head amnesia. And he thinks that he's a Japanese fisherman. This woman has fallen in love with him, and she lets him believe he's a fisherman, and they live together for like a year.
That's kind of amazing. I want to see that movie, but not as a spy movie. Maybe as a spy movie, but just kind of as more of like a spy drama.
I wish there was more Donald Pleasance. Looking at him and watching him act was just a pleasure.
And just he had that weird way of talking. Villain who talks like this.
Usually he has a real edge to his voice and almost like a panic to his voice.
Yeah.
Like he sort of talks like this. And this he was very calm.
I kind of want to watch more Blofeld movies just to see more of him. Although, does he play Blofeld more?
There's another guy who, you'd know him if you saw him. He often plays heavies and villains. He's got sort of like a really strong chin. You're the producer of the James Bond franchise, Albert Broccoli, or whatever his name is. Sean Connery has just said he's retiring. He's not going to be James Bond anymore. Of the actors available to you at the time, who is the next Bond?
Michael Caine's the easy choice, although I don't know if he had made it big yet.
Peter O'Toole.
Well, he was too big to play Bond. You can only play Bond on your way up. You can't, but once you pass a certain point, you can't go back to Bond.
Final thoughts on You Only Live Twice.
I have seen it once.
Good.
And I'm getting myself a volcano lair.
Technically, it's a basement. Well, get inside, you little whirly-copter, fly on over to our website, welcome to thebasementshow.com. We have all the episodes that we've ever made and a PayPal donation button where you, yes, you, can donate to support our show. You don't have to donate hundreds of millions of dollars. Just a few will do.
We'll take hundreds of millions, though.
Donors such as Jeff, who says, thanks for having us in the basement all of these years.
We should have another show where we talk about all the donors, say their names, and maybe answer your questions, and read poetry, and talk about Japanese action movies.
Shut up, you big silly. You know that show already exists. It's called Unboxing, and it comes out this Friday. We say the names of the rest of our generous donors, and we open the contents of our mailbag. You big silly. I'll give you such a pinch.
You're crazy in the coconut.
And now it's time for Seen It.
Seen It.
Throwing Star. Graham Bartle writes, have you guys seen Midnight Special yet? Ends a little meh, but the lead-up is great. I'm not crazy about the word meh, but I do kind of agree with you about Midnight Special, because I've seen it.
Seen it.
The ending is a little thinky. It's like they thought themselves into a corner. And then when the ending happens, it's sort of like, yeah, I see it, but I don't really see it. And I don't want to give away the ending, but
yeah.
It's a little grandiose, and it's a little, to call it high concept is an understatement.
Ahmed Al-Sabood writes, A Serious Man, 2009. Seen it? Seen it.
We saw that together.
Right down here, before we did this show.
I've been wanting to rewatch this for years.
Me too.
This movie's about Judaism. It's about religion in general.
Yeah.
It's about living in the suburbs. And it's basically just about the existential crises of life.
Yeah, it's why do bad things happen to good people.
And this is another really high-concept, weird ending, but this one somehow works.
There's a scene where he is talking to the Columbia Record House on the phone, and it's just that one single shot.
He's just getting more and more frustrated.
Yeah, but he's
not getting frustrated at them. He's getting frustrated at everything that's been happening.
But he says he doesn't want Abraxas or Cosmos Factory. Abraxas is this Greek creator god. So by saying that, he's accidentally turning his back on God just by saying, I don't want Abraxas. And he doesn't want Cosmos Factory, which of course is the universe or God's mind or whatever. And so he's cursing himself because his son bought a couple of albums.
Chris Freeman, have you seen Hard 8? Some top-notch writing and acting. Seen it.
Seen it.
This was Paul Thomas Anderson's first feature film. He wanted it to be called Sydney. He hated the name Hard 8.
He's wrong.
Hard 8's a better title.
Yeah.
It's about gambling. It's about getting older. It's about teaching. It's about a lot of stuff.
About fatherhood. ERCRD writes, have you seen Sicario? Definitely my favorite movie of last year. I'm upset it didn't get a Best Picture nomination. Seen it.
Seen it. I don't have much to say about it, but Emily Blunt is just sad for the entire movie. In every single shot of every single scene, her face, she's just like...
Even the scene where she's making out with the guy, she seems sad.
She looks miserable.
Yeah.
It just cast this pall over the entire movie. Like, the movie just had a rain cloud over it the entire time.
I do wish it was a little bit more dynamic of a performance, because I know she can do that. So it must have been a choice to hold it back.
That's seen it.
And that's our show.
We Saw You Only Live Twice, James Bond adventure film. Our hearts are still racing.
Oh, good Christ. I need to call my doctor.
We hope you had a good time, and we hope you'll join us next time for our next episode, which is going to be our Christmas episode.
Oh my God, already?
Ho, ho, ho. We'll see you then.
Watch out for the snow, snow, snow. Guy named Sven. It's a poem. Deal with it.
Princess Nancy licked my cracker, and I am very cross with her. That is not cat food, that is people food. Princess Nancy, I would not tolerate any other subversive behavior or impingement upon my snacks. Do you hear me, Princess Nancy?
I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld.